Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Leon Byner's just walked in. Something very comforting about you can always go round. If you don't like the way you're coming down, you can always go round and do it again. Nodding very sagely.
That can waste time, but then we're very good at that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way you find solutions. You don't necessarily have to walk into a pothole or a puddle. You can build a bridge. You can walk around it, jump over it. Lots of solutions. The Middle East can be solved.
You all know Peter Goers, don't you?
Yes.
Peter, how are you?
Hello, Jeremy. Hello, Leon.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Look, I don't know. If you can't be a good example, be a horrible warning. That's my
I like that. If you
my
can't
motto.
be a good example.
You're in your 80th year, Jeremy.
I know, but
It's fantastic.
I don't feel any different to the time I was 18. I don't know where the time has gone.
Where does it go? And the older we get, the faster it goes. It's scary.
I don't know that it's an accurate measurement of anything. You know, just the chronology of 1 year.
I had a physicist explain this to me, and that is that the older you get, time as a proportion of your life becomes less, which means it appears to be faster.
Well, I've noticed that. That's true. The time
so that's the official explanation.
How do we slow it down? Did he go?
I don't know that you can. Go to bed.
No, or do something that's very boring, and time will drag.
But the reality of life is that when we get to this end of the age scale and we review our life, we have already led most of our lives, and there's only a small proportion left, and that becomes precious.
Peter, before we get on to your...
I think the sad thing is you feel the time's running out, don't you?
No, that's true. I don't think about it, though. It's like climbing a ladder and looking down. Never look down.
No, that's true.
Now, before we get on to your new play, what in your life, talking about age and time passing, what would you do differently if you could go back and start it again? What would you do differently?
Gosh,
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
not much, actually.
No?
Not much. I might have been kinder to people.
Well, I've never noticed that you'd been unkind to people.
No,
Where does that come from?
Well, I have sometimes.
You have been a bit acidic sometimes in your Sunday mail.
I have. And not so much that. I think a sort of, I don't know, a kindness. I just wish I was 16 again when I knew everything.
Talking about kindness, Peter, I'm the dad of the nurse that held your hand.
Oh, she was lovely.
Oh, she is lovely. She's a gem.
Now, I think I gave her a packet of wagon wheel biscuits.
Hang on, fill us all in on this.
Well, I was finally having my cataract removed through the public health system, and it's a short operation, but it's a bit nerve-wracking because you're awake, and the people are in your eye. And the nurse, very kindly, I couldn't see her, but I just felt she reached out and held my hand during the operation. It was lovely.
I didn't get that when I had my cataracts done.
You didn't have Bianca, Jeremy.
No, I didn't.
No, well, thank her very much, because that was a kindness. It just those little kindnesses that on which our lives turn, really. And it was a beautiful thing. You've got a nice daughter there.
Yeah, no, Peter, she did. She was very chuffed at the recognition. While she wasn't named, she was very chuffed at the recognition that you appreciated what she did for you.
Well, I think I'm a great believer in thanking people, because we're quick to complain, aren't we? And rightly so, I think. We're quick to complain about all kinds of things, so we should be quick to thank and acknowledge too, I think.
Let me ask you, Peter, and Leon, talking about time passing and whatnot. How old were you when you got into radio?
17.
And Peter, how old were you?
Well, I started reviewing movies in my 20s on radio, but I didn't get a full-time gig until, I was in my 40s. So I was a late starter. I've been a late starter with everything.
Oh, well, you've got the maturity to enter it in the right way with style.
But what about you, Jeremy? You started very young in radio.
16, but that was an office boy, and that was the way you started in Sydney. You just got into it, and then you met people, and then
they had record boys, didn't they?
Well, the two ways you could start. You could start as either an office boy, or you could start in dispatch. And I thought to myself, dispatch, that's not very interesting. I'd rather be buying John Lawsey's lunch than
that's right.
Packing up transcription turntable discs to be sent around with Superman on them.
So you bought his lunch and then eventually you cut his lunch.
He's still going,
I know he is. Well, so are you.
Yeah.
He'd be older than you. He?
Well, he's 10 years older than me. When I was buying his lunch, so to speak, he was 20. He was 26 and I was 16. Yeah.
I think the media is still, it's not quite what it was, but I've known people with very successful careers who just turn up and, sooner or later someone will give you something to do. And, that was always a way into television and radio, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. And every once in a while you had somebody who would mentor you and give you an opportunity and get out of you what you couldn't even see yourself.
That's right, yes. But, Woody Allen said 80% of success is turning up, is being there.
Yes.
And he's dead right, isn't he?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. The great tragedy of this is that country radio used to be the training ground for people in radio, particularly broadcasting. But since networking and streaming and all this stuff, those opportunities have diminished. So save sitting in a studio watching somebody quite capable to learn from them, you've really got to bumble along. There's no other choice.
No, it still is. There is that progression in the ABC from country to city. That's always worked there, I think.
Yeah. Didn't they have cadets or something?
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
In newsrooms.
In newsrooms, yes.
But that's gone in newspapers. That's gone, the cadet system.
Well, in radio, it seems that they draw all that talent without any radio experience whatsoever. They draw them from the stand-up comic world.
And sports people.
And sports people, yeah. Some of whom are probably quite gifted, I don't know. They're not around long enough to make an analysis.
It's always something, isn't it? You can either do it or you can't. Carol Whitelock used to say that.
Yeah.
And Corn Senior has done a very good job moving from sport into interviewing people. I've listened to quite a few of his interviews.
Who's that?
People. Corns. Graham Corns.
Oh, Graham Corns. Yes, of course.
Yes.
He does a very good job.
Yes.
Yes, he does. Mm.
Yes, he's a smart fellow. Now, tell me about the play. This is your new baby.
Down at Holden Street Theatres. We open next week, and you and Caroline are coming, which is thrilling for us. You address a foyer. And it's by Patrick White. It's his best play. It's called A Cheery Soul. It's something of a comedy, a kind of a black comedy. And it's about a woman who, and we've all known this woman, who thinks she's going around doing good, but is actually doing harm. And, she creates chaos wherever she goes. It's set in suburban Sydney. White and his partner moved back to Australia and had a little farm in Castle Hill out of Sydney.
Yes, I know it. I know it. We lived at Castle Hill for...
Did you?
Yeah, Barrowan Place at Castle Hill was our first house. We were talking about real estate earlier. and how you got into it at a much earlier age, when you were much younger. And he was, I remember driving past his farmhouse, lovely old weatherboard white place it was.
Yes, called Dogwoods. And the farm failed, but he began to write again there. And he was Castle Hill, this is in the late 40s, was sort of almost a country town, a bit like Gawler.
Yes, it was, yes.
Then the suburbs encroached. And that's what that inspired White to write he called the suburb sarsaparilla, and he wrote a number of novels and plays about that the new suburbs, and this place set in that suburb of sarsaparilla, read Castle Hill, and so it's a look at the suburbs and people of that era, so 1959. The way men wore ties, they practically lived in ties.
And a hat.
And a hat, exactly. We all knew men who, you thought they wore a tie with their pajamas.
Yes.
And it's those sort of people that he's looking at with that wonderful sense of language, of the music in the Australian language.
Yes. He was a funny guy, Patrick White.
Very.
Very, very heavy. I mean, I've attempted to read some of his books, and I found them very heavy going.
They are, but the plays are much lighter, particularly this play, which is his best play. It's funny and it's light. It's not as heavy as the novels. It's lighter, and of course, the fruit of your loins, Christopher, features.
Thank you for casting him again. Thank you.
Well, he's a joy to work with. He's a good kid, your boy, and he's gone from playing Hamlet to carrying a spear. But that's show business.
Yeah, no, I love it. You've got to be versatile.
You've got to be versatile, but yes, he's playing a furniture removalist and a young man sitting in the church picking his nose.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Why do I get the feeling that Patrick White was angry all the time?
Well, I think, he wasn't a happy man, no. I think, there was a lot of sort of rage in him. And, that's very complex, I think. But I think he had a love-hate relationship with Australia. Yes. And he once said, Australia doesn't really like people. And I think he's right there. We live in a very hostile landscape here in Australia.
Oh, I see what you mean. Not Australians don't like people. It's just the Australian environment.
Australians like people, but it's, the country itself doesn't really like us. But no, he was a great writer and our only Nobel Prize laureate for literature. And I think I've always revered him, and it's been a dream of mine to do this play, and here we are doing it with Martha Lott in yet another great part for us. So we proceed. And
another Peter Goers triumph.
I don't know. But the set is interesting, Jeremy. The entire set is made out of nana rugs, crocheted nana rugs.
Is why a rude question? What's the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm trying to make is that, that it comes from that comfort that people, it's a very comfortable thing to make a nana rug.
Yes.
And it's a very sort of suburban thing. Anyway, you'll see.
Where did you get them? Where did you get them?
Op shops mainly. And, I go to an op shop, which I, practically live in op shops.
No, don't blame you. I do too.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And on auction sites, Jeremy.
Yes.
I hope you and I are not bidding for the same things, but anyway.
No. We'll keep in touch and you can tell me. Warn me off.
And I'd go to op shops and I'd find half a dozen nana rugs and they'd say, what do you want these for? And I'd tell them and they'd say, well, look, take them. You can borrow them and bring them back.
Well, that's nice of them.
Yes. And in Maitland on the York Peninsula, I found the biggest one of all. It's like a king-size bedspread. That's sort of centre stage. So anyway, it's a riot of crochet, this play.
I'm looking forward to being there. It'll be another great show.
Support, you and Caroline, and you've got a fine son.
Thank you, sir. Tell me, how do people get tickets? The usual places, or is there a special
the
way?
Places, and you can go to the Holden Street website, holdenstreettheatres.com, I think it is, down there at Hindmarsh, and we'll look forward to seeing people and hope that it pleases people.
And it's opening next week.
Yes.
It'll be wonderful. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. And pleasure to be with you, Leon and Jeremy and others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The great Peter Goers, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.